So let's talk about the structure of the TOEFL test and start with the first section. As I said, there are 4 sections in this test. And the first section is the reading section of Anata Nikra, where you have 3 or 4 passages, okay? And actually, recently, starting August 2019, there was a change in the structure of the test, and the test became shorter, okay? So I'm going to show you the change here because the materials that they have now, the official, the ETS, has not changed yet. So I want to talk to you about this change so that you will see the differences in the earlier format and the new format, and you will know what's going on with the material as well, okay? So in the past, we had, as I said, 3 to 4 passages, and we still do. But we had, the reading section took 60 or 80 minutes, and now it's shorter, okay? It's either 54 or 72 minutes, okay? So in the past, we had 12 to 14 questions for every passage, and now you have 10 questions for every passage. So when in the past you had 20 minutes for all the questions, and now you have 18 minutes for these 10 questions. What's important to know about the reading section is that no one manages your time there except for you. So you have to understand all you see is like the total time that you have, and your job is to move from one passage to another in order to, finish the section. Otherwise, you'll never finish answering all the questions there. Let's talk a little bit about this section. It's about 700 words per passage, and the nature is very academic, scientific. You have a lot of biology, geography, psychology, got chemistry, art, history, usually American history. For every passage, you can spend 18 minutes. So it comes down to 1 minute and 48 seconds per question, which is better than it used to be, because in the past it was 1.5 minutes for every question. So you have more time today, okay, which is great. You can go back and check your answers, which is also great because, for example, it does happen that people realize they've made a mistake and then they can't go back and fix it. And in this test, you can, okay? There are different types of questions, 10 different types that we're going to get to know in this course. For example, summary questions, vocabulary questions, inference questions, detailed questions, and so on. Of course, we're going to know all of them and what's the best way to solve the questions. All multiple choice, by the way, okay? This is how it looks like. You have the reading passage on one side and one question on the other side. And when you answer the question, you do next, and then you see the next question. That means you never see more than one question at a time, okay? You see the clock, you see the general time, and you have to know how to manage time, but we will talk more about that later on in this lesson, when we talk about the reading section specifically. I want to talk about the second section, the listening section of Anata Nishma, where we have to listen to lectures and dialogues and answer questions about them. So this section has also become shorter. If we had 4 or 6 lectures, today we have only 3 or 4 lectures, which is great because the lectures are like, they're full of details, very long, it's really hard to remember so much. I'm going to talk to you about what's the best way to, to approach these lectures. And what you have today is, again, 3 or 4 lectures plus 2 or 3 dialogues. Comes down to 41 to 57 minutes. Every dialogue has 5 questions, every lecture has 6, and the total is 28 to 45 questions. And the listening section has like different parts. So you can either get 2 parts for that in this section, or 3, depending on how many readings you had, how many passages you had. So if you had 3 passages, you will get 3 parts here. And if you had 4, you will get 2 parts here, okay? And every part has 1 dialogue and 2 lectures, or 1 lecture. Okay, so for example, if you had 4 reading passages, okay, you will get 2 parts here. One would have dialogue, lecture, and the second one would have a dialogue and a lecture. Okay, that's the structure of the listening section. You can take notes. You should actually take notes in order to remember the information, especially in the lecture, because it's a lot of information, many details. It's really hard to remember so much. So I'm going to teach you how to do that later on in this course, when we're going to talk specifically about the listening section. This is how it looks like. You have a picture, if it's a dialogue, a picture of people speaking. If it's a lecture, of one person speaking, and you just hear it in the background, and after you finish listening, you get the questions. Okay, it's not that you have to answer during listening to the dialogues and the lectures. You finish listening and then you see the questions. After the listening section, you have a break. It's a mandatory break, 10 minutes. I think the best way to do is to spend it wisely. Don't waste it on a cigarette or a phone call. Make yourselves comfortable. If it means going to the bathroom, if it means getting something to eat and drink, because you got to feel comfortable for the next part of the exam, which is basically production. Okay, so what I mean is, the first part, if you think about it, we had reading comprehension and listening comprehension, which is called comprehension. That's the more passive side of language. Now, after the break, you move to the more active side of language, which is production. That means speaking and writing. Okay, it's where you have to create language actively. Okay, the third section, which is the section that comes right after the break, is the speaking section, פרק הדיבור, where in the past you had 6 tasks. Today you have only 4. And they are called independent tasks or integrated tasks. The first one is an independent task, and the next 3 are integrated. It takes 17 minutes, this whole section, which compared to the past is, it was 20, so today it's shorter. And as I said, we have 4 tasks, and every task gets a score of 0 to 4, total of 0 to 30, as in every section. Let's talk first about the first task, which is an independent task, where you basically express your opinion about a familiar topic. For example, what do you prefer? Do you prefer to study alone, or do you prefer to study in a group? Okay? Do you prefer a friend that is funny or a friend that is smart? Okay, things like that. Could be also about, academic life, about your personal life, but it's always topics that anyone can talk about pretty easily. The next task is an integrated task, where you read a short passage, listen to a dialogue, and then talk about it. And the next one is also an integrated task, but this time you read a short passage, you listen to a lecture, and you talk about it. So both are integrated. And the final one is also an integrated task, where you just listen to a lecture and you talk about it. Okay, basically you summarize the lecture. You speak into a microphone, you've been recorded, and then they give you a score. Of course, you have preparation time for each task, and we're going to talk more about this as we go into the speaking section. For example, this is a question for the independent task. What kind of reading material, such as novels, magazines, or poetry, do you most like to read in your free time? Explain why you find this kind of reading material interesting. Okay, just an example. And the final section is the writing section, פרק הכתיבה, where you have to write 2 essays today. One is an integrated essay, and the other is an independent essay. This section has not changed. Okay, we have 50 minutes to write 20 minutes for the integrated essay and 30 minutes for the independent essay. Actually, the integrated essay takes longer because it also involves reading and listening, but the total time of writing is 20 minutes, okay? Every essay gets a score of 0 to 5, a total of 0 to 30. In the integrated task, you basically read a short passage, listen to a lecture about the same topic, and then you answer a question that refers to both, okay? Both to the reading and the listening. And you're supposed to write an essay that actually summarizes both the reading and the listening, okay, the audio, which is a lecture. In the independent essay, you just basically write an essay about a familiar topic. It's called an opinion essay. It appears in many exams that test your ability to write. So it's pretty straightforward. And I'll give you an example for topic. Are children of today more dependent on their parents than children of earlier generations? Okay, that's an example of a topic you could get. So this is how it looks like, the integrated task. You have this box where you write the essay, you can see the reading, you have an automatic word count, and every time you write a word, it shows you the number of words you already have, and of course the time. And the total time of the test, it used to be 4 hours, and now it's 3.5 hours. So as I said, it is shorter. So a bit easier, I would say. And that's it about the structure.